Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. I want to start with a simple truth. Success is not a destination, it's a journey. And on this journey, there is no room for the word fail. Because when we redefine what failure means, we realize you cannot fail. I want you to rethink the way you set your goals. Too many people wake up each morning with a checkbox mentality. I need to hit this dollar amount, sign this contract, or finish this project. Then by evening, they've either succeeded or failed based on a number. But real growth isn't measured in spreadsheets or scoreboard totals. It's measured in the skills you build, the habits you forge, and the knowledge you acquire along the way. Imagine for a moment that every failure you experience is simply proof that you haven't yet mastered a skill. You haven't learned enough. You haven't tried the right approach. That's the beauty of setting learning goals. You give yourself permission to explore, to experiment, and to fail forward. When you commit to learning goals, you change your internal dialogue. Instead of, I failed to reach $5,000, 0 cents today, you start saying, I didn't land that sale today, but I did discover the pitch that resonates least, and I know now to pivot. You turn every setback into a stepping stone. You stop asking, did I win? And start asking, what did I learn? That question opens doors you didn't even know existed. So how do you build this into your daily routine? First, identify the core skills that will move you toward your bigger vision. If you want to dominate in sales, maybe it's mastering objection handling or refining your cold calling script. If you aim to build an online brand, it could be understanding content algorithms or perfecting on-camera presence. Pick 1 or 2 skills at a time. Anything more becomes scattered and ineffective. Next, break those skills into digestible milestones. Let's say we're talking about cold calling. Your first milestone might be research and craft a hook that grabs attention in the first 10 seconds. The next could be practice tone and pacing until it feels natural, followed by test 3 different hooks with real prospects. Suddenly, instead of a fuzzy, overwhelming goal, you've mapped out a clear training plan. You know exactly what you need to work on today, tomorrow, and next week. Then schedule brief, focused practice sessions. No marathon efforts. Small, consistent bursts of targeted action. 10 minutes a day spent perfecting your pitch can yield more progress than a frantic 2-hour session once a week. Consistency compounds. Those small reps add up, building muscle memory and confidence. As you practice, keep a learning journal. Jot down what worked, what didn't, and why. Review your notes weekly. You'll start to see patterns. Maybe prospects respond better to questions than statements, or certain words shut them down. With this feedback loop, you're not guessing. You're learning scientifically. And science doesn't lie. Remember, learning goals protect you from the tyranny of the numbers. When you focus only on hitting a dollar amount, you ignore the process. When you focus on mastering a skill, you embrace it. You learn resilience, adaptability, and creativity. You learn to read people, to listen more deeply, and to adjust your strategy on the fly. Those abilities serve you in sales, business, relationships, every aspect of life. One of the most powerful shifts comes when you publicly declare your learning goal. Tell a friend, a mentor, or your team, this week, I'm aiming to test 5 different opening lines and see which one gets the best response. Now you've added accountability and you framed a conversation around discovery rather than outcome. People will ask, how's the testing going? You'll share your data, your wins, and yes, your misfire. That transparency builds credibility. It shows you're committed to growth, not just bragging about end results. As your skills sharpen, you'll naturally see performance improve. But here's the kicker. You won't be rattled when performance dips. Slumps become opportunities to pivot, to go back to the drawing board on a particular subskill. The mental armor you build through learning goals deflects the stress of fluctuating numbers. You stay in the game longer, experiment more boldly, and outlast competitors who burn out chasing arbitrary targets. This approach scales too. Let's fast forward a few months. You've mastered your cold calling hook. Now you move on to objection handling. Same process. Research the top 5 objections you face, draft responses, role play scenarios, record yourself, refine. One skill at a time, you build a repertoire that makes you unstoppable. Each edition isn't isolated, it compounds on the last, creating a snowball effect of competence and confidence. And make no mistake, this principle applies beyond sales. If you're learning to code, don't set a goal to build an app. Set a goal to understand and implement 3 JavaScript functions, then debug a simple API call, then design a user-friendly form. If you're training for a sport, don't fixate on the race finish line. Focus on shaving seconds off your split time, optimizing your diet, improving your form. Whatever your arena, the playbook remains the same. By the time you look back, you won't recognize the person you were at the start. You'll have a toolbox of skills, a record of experiments, and the unshakable belief that failure was never final. Every stumble is simply an indicator of where to focus your next learning sprint. So today, drop the scoreboard mindset. Stop defining yourself by numbers and start measuring yourself by growth. Identify the critical skills, break them down into milestones, schedule your practice, keep a journal, and share your journey. Commit to learning goals, and you'll find that the concept of failure disappears because you're always progressing, always learning, and always moving forward. I want you to actively seek out feedback. Too often we wait for praise to come our way, or we hide our work until it feels perfect, thinking that any critique will sting too much. But here's the truth. Unfiltered, honest input from people you respect is one of the fastest routes to mastery. Imagine that you're in the ring, but you've got blindfolds on. You can throw punches, you can move your feet, but you have no idea if you're landing blows or leaving openings. Constructive feedback is the person pulling off your blindfold, pointing out exactly where you're strong and where you're vulnerable. Without it, you're fighting shadow. When you embrace feedback, your mindset shifts. You stop seeing criticism as an attack on your identity and start viewing it as a roadmap for improvement. A mentor's comment about your weak footwork isn't a judgment of who you are. It's an opportunity to tighten your stance. A peer's note on your speech cadence isn't a knock on your intelligence. It's a chance to sharpen your delivery. Feedback propels you forward much faster than solitary practice ever could. Start by identifying the right people to turn to. Those who have walked the path before you and whose opinions you trust. Maybe it's a coach whose coach champions, or a colleague who's already killing it in your industry, or a friend who isn't shy about calling you out. Ask them to focus on one specific aspect of your performance. If you're delivering a pitch, say, listen to my opening lines and tell me where I'd lose their interest. If you're building a product, ask for feedback on the user flow or the first impression. The more precise your question, the more precise the answer. When you receive feedback, resist the urge to defend or justify. That's the ego speaking. Instead, listen, absorb every word with gratitude, even if it feels uncomfortable. Write it down. Over time, you'll see patterns. Maybe every reviewer mentions that you speak too fast, or that your slides are cluttered, or that your messaging lacks clarity. Those recurring notes are gold. They tell you exactly where to focus your next round of practice. Incorporating feedback doesn't mean you lose your voice or your style. It means you refine them. You're not a copycat. You're an evolution. If someone points out that you rely too heavily on hype in your sales calls, you can blend in sincerity and real value proposition so your authenticity shines through. If a friend says your jokes fall flat in presentations, you can swap in stories that resonate more deeply without losing your edge. It helps to build a simple system for feedback loops. After every significant iteration, a draft, a demo, a trial run, gather feedback from at least 2 sources. Compare their notes side by side. What's the consensus? Where do they diverge? Decide which suggestions align with your vision and experiment with them in your next version. And then rinse and repeat. This cycle of creation, feedback, and refinement becomes your secret weapon. Another key is transparency. When you openly invite critique, you demonstrate confidence. You signal that you're committed to excellence, not just applause. Share your progress updates publicly or within your team. Here's where I'm at with the script. Would love your take on pacing. That invitation encourages others to invest in your success. It fosters a culture of growth where everyone feels safe giving and receiving feedback. Suddenly, you're not alone in the ring. You've got a whole corner of supporters helping you tweak your technique. Remember, not all feedback is created equal. Be selective. If someone's input conflicts with your goals or values, you can set it aside. You're the fighter. You decide which punches to take. But don't dismiss criticism just because it's hard to hear. The truth often stings, but it's the sting that wakes you up to what you need to fix. As you embed feedback loops into your routine, you'll notice a shift in your performance. Tasks that once felt daunting become manageable challenges. Your confidence grows, not because you've convinced yourself you're perfect, but because you know you're improving constantly. You become agile, able to pivot at the first sign of resistance. And here's the beautiful paradox. The more feedback you seek, the less fear you have. You stop worrying about looking foolish because you've already exposed your rough edges and polished them. You cultivate a humility that coexists with fierce ambition. That combination is unstoppable. So lean in, ask the tough questions, invite the critique that scares you the most, listen without ego, log the insights, act on them swiftly. And when you step back into the arena, you'll be transformed. Close your ears to the noise of complacency and let the voice of improvement guide you. Thank you. I want you to recognize every single step forward, no matter how small, as a victory worth celebrating. Too often we fix our gaze on the summit, convinced that only a medal ceremony matters, and we let the countless footholds we pass go unnoticed. But if you look at the world's greatest performers, whether they're in business, sports, or art, you'll find they don't wait for the trophy to validate their effort. They celebrate every rep, every rehearsal, every prototype. That relentless acknowledgement of progress is what builds momentum and confidence, and it's what separates those who last from those who burn out. Think about this. You set a big goal, something that lights a fire in your chest, and then you grind day after day without any real measurement of progress. Some days you feel on top of the world, and other days you question why you even started. Without markers of achievement along the way, that emotional roller coaster can derail you. But when you define and then celebrate small wins, you create a constant source of positive reinforcement. Your brain begins to associate effort with reward. You build dopamine-driven motivation loops that keep you hungry to push further. So what does celebration look like? It doesn't have to be a blowout party or a six-figure bonus. In fact, the simplest acknowledgments can be the most powerful. Maybe you send yourself a quick text. Today, I hit my target of 5 prospect calls, and 2 of them showed real interest. Or maybe you treat yourself to a walk in the park when you finish that chapter of your draft. The point is to pause long enough to say, I did that and I owned it. That pause creates a mental bookmark. You're more likely to return to that feeling of accomplishment and use it as fuel when the next challenge arises. Committing to this practice starts with defining what a small win is for you. Break down your larger objective into micro milestones. If you're writing a book, a small win might be finishing 500 words in one sitting. If you're launching a new service, it could be securing your first exploratory call. If you're learning a new language, it might be mastering 10 new vocabulary words. These are concrete, achievable targets you can check off daily or weekly. And each time you check one off, you have permission to celebrate. I want you to write these micro milestones down, maybe in a journal, maybe in a notes app on your phone. Each time you complete one, log it. At the end of the week, review your list. You'll be shocked at how many entries you have. That list becomes a visual testament to your dedication and growth. It reminds you that progress is happening even on the days you feel stuck. Celebrations can and should vary. Some are internal, pausing for a moment of gratitude, drawing a deep breath, acknowledging your own capability. Others are external, telling a friend, posting a quick update on social media, sharing your progress with your team. When you vocalize your small wins, you invite others into your journey. Their congratulations become additional fuel, creating a positive feedback loop. Plus, by sharing your process rather than just your successes, you model a growth mindset for those around you. You show that progress isn't linear and that the climb is made of many small steps. Now, you might think celebrating small wins sounds a bit fluffy for a world that prizes toughness. You might worry it'll make you complacent. But here's the reality. Genuine celebration doesn't soften your edge, it sharpens it. It trains your mind to seek out progress, to notice improvement, and to crave the next opportunity to level up. It turns hard work into a rewarding experience, one that you want to repeat. Consider the athlete who measures personal bests in fractions of a second, or the musician who notes when a riff finally clicks. They don't wait for sold-out stadiums or gold medals to feel proud. They honor the journey, and that honors the goal itself. This practice also reduces the fear of failure. When you know that every attempt, successful or not, yields a small win in the form of a lesson learned or a skill honed, you're less afraid to take risks. You're too busy celebrating what you gained to obsess over what you lost. To make celebration habitual, build it into your routine. Attach a small reward to each milestone, a 5-minute break after a focused work sprint, a chapter of your favorite book after completing a draft section, a healthy snack after hitting a workout target. These rewards become cues that reinforce the behavior. Over time, you won't need the external treat. The satisfaction of the win itself will be enough. Your brain will release its own reward chemicals, and you'll chase new milestones for the joy of progress. Another powerful tactic is to create a win board or progress wall. It could be a whiteboard in your office, a cork board with sticky notes, or a digital board in an app. Every small win gets its own note. You watch the board fill up over days and weeks. That growing constellation of achievements is more motivating than any empty goal you pin to the top. It's a living testament to your hustle, visible proof that you're moving forward. As you incorporate small wins into your life, you'll notice a shift in your energy. Tasks that once felt intimidating will seem manageable. Your confidence will grow, not in big, unpredictable surges, but in steady increments you can rely on. That's how resilience is built, brick by brick, win by win. And here's what ties all of this back to the bigger picture. Celebrating small wins doesn't just propel you toward your immediate goal. It calibrates your mindset for lifelong success. You learn to value effort over outcome, growth over perfection, progress over stagnation. You become someone who isn't defined by a single moment of glory, but by a pattern of persistent action. So start today. Define your micro milestones, log each win, celebrate each moment, and watch as the accumulation of those small victories propels you toward greatness. Thank you. I want you to hold tight to your purpose, because when the winds of doubt and fatigue blow the hardest, purpose is the anchor that keeps you rooted. Too many people drift aimlessly, reacting to every obstacle, every criticism, every late night worry without a solid reason to keep going. But you're not in this to drift. You're in this to conquer, to build, to leave a legacy. Purpose isn't some lofty idea you memorize once and tuck away. It's a living force you breathe, you revisit, you let guide every move you make. When you wake up, ask yourself why you do what you do, not just the surface answer, I need to pay bills, but the deeper driver. Maybe you're building a business to provide freedom for your family, to prove to yourself that you can outwork and outthink anyone, to inspire those who doubt you. Whatever your core reason, write it down in vivid emotional detail. Picture how you feel when you achieve this goal, the relief, the pride, the celebration in the eyes of the people you love. That vision isn't a daydream, it's your compass. You'll face days when the grind feels endless. Calls won't book, scripts will flop, code will crash, muscles will ache. You'll question yourself. That's when you pull out your purpose statement. Read it, feel it, let it inject fuel into your veins. You'll realize the discomfort isn't a roadblock, it's a gateway, proof that you're working on something that matters. Without purpose, discomfort becomes a prison. With purpose, discomfort becomes a rite of passage. And purpose isn't static. As you grow, your why can deepen or expand. Revisit it regularly, monthly, quarterly. Make sure it still rings true. Refine it. Maybe your initial purpose was to achieve financial security. Now it's to scale a movement that changes an industry. That evolution is proof that you're alive, that you're learning, that you're not settling. When your purpose evolves, your drive intensifies, because now you're not just racing for yourself, you're carrying a vision for others. Keep your purpose front and center in every plan you make. Before you set a goal for the week, ask, how does this move me closer to my purpose? If the answer is weak or vague, scrap it. No more busy work. Every task should be a step on the path. This filters out distractions, endless meetings, meaningless tasks, shallow social media scrolls. You'll guard your time like the most valuable currency, because it is. Your why teaches you that time invested in your purpose returns exponential value. Purpose also fuels perseverance. When you encounter a setback, losing a client, hitting a plateau in performance, feeling like you've lost your stride, purpose whispers, keep going. It reminds you that temporary losses are just that, temporary. It frames failure as feedback, as a signal to adjust your approach. Without purpose, setbacks can break you. With purpose, setbacks become challenges to conquer. Now, to surround yourself with reminders of your purpose, vision boards, motivational quotes, photos of loved ones, whatever resonates with you, place them where you'll see them first thing in the morning and last thing at night. These aren't decorations, they're signals to your subconscious, reinforcing why you're grinding today so you don't lose focus when you're tired. Talk about your purpose with those around you. When you share your vision, you create a network of accountability and encouragement. Your partners, friends, team members, they become invested in your why too. They'll remind you of it when you forget. They'll hold you to your standards. They'll celebrate your victories and lift you through the lows. That collective energy magnifies your own. But most importantly, internalize the idea that purpose is not an external destination. It's internal fuel. It doesn't lie in a future state. It lives inside you right now. You carry it into every meeting, every workout, every negotiation. It molds your attitude, your resilience, your creativity. It's what separates those who quit at the first sign of turbulence from those who carve new paths through the storm. When you persist, with purpose, discipline becomes easier. You don't need to force yourself to work. You're drawn to it. You don't need to trick yourself into showing up. You want to show up. That's the shift, moving from obligation to passion, from I have to I get to. That distinction creates a level of consistency that makes extraordinary achievement inevitable. And remember, purpose-driven persistence doesn't ignore balance. Your purpose can and should include your health, your relationships, your well-being. Burning out doesn't serve your vision. Schedule rest, recovery, and time with loved ones as integral parts of your plan. When you recharge, you come back stronger, more creative, more determined. As you carry purpose into every corner of your life, you'll notice the difference. Challenges that would have once felt crushing will feel like puzzles waiting for solutions. Days that once blurred together will have clarity and direction. You'll sleep better, work smarter, and live with a sense of meaning that transcends any single victory. That is how you persist with purpose. And by doing so, you guarantee that failure can never claim you. Thank you.